You know, I keep looking for all these clues for the Elder Scrolls in 2025, but I think I just need to look elsewhere. What's going on, YouTube? With the assistance of a second Jacob, this is getting out of hand. Now there's two of them. We were able to definitively review all of the information, including in-person interviews, in-game clues, maps outside of the map polygons that exist, to give a definitive answer as to where we will be going in 2025. But before we jump into that, a quick word from this video sponsor. Because this video is sponsored by Laser Luxuries LLC, a fellow ESO player-run business that will give you all the engraved items you could ever need. Because with the power of laser engraving, you're able to make fully customizable mementos, things to put in your game rooms or other areas of your home, or they make perfect gifts. Because as you can see, what was given to me, I have a wide assortment of things and ways to utilize these items, whether to attach them to my keychain, whether to wear them in public, such as during ESO events, or to put directly in my stream background. Even just these three items have such a wide-ranging utilization for me to use. And the nice thing is that, as always, these are fully customizable. All you need to do is either reach out via Facebook or on the QR code on screen, fill out a short form, and you're able to make fully customizable items that you can use for any wide-ranging thing that you could ever need. And as I said earlier, David is actually an avid Elder Scrolls Online player, so not only are you creating a customizable piece for yourself or others, you're also supporting a small business that's run by an avid Elder Scrolls Online player. So utilize the QR code or the link in the description to head on over to Laser Luxury LLC. And let's jump back into the video. And here is the current Elder Scrolls Online map, with quite a few areas that you'll notice are still completely blank. Notice that the center part of Skyrim is still completely open. We have pretty much the entire Hammerfell area. We have tons of areas over near Murkmire. We have the northern part of the Telvanni Peninsula. We have Solstein and many other areas that are still able to be accessed by the next chapter update. And if you've been watching this channel now for a few years, you'll know that I accurately called both the Necrom chapter, including the Arcanist class, as well as the Gold Road chapter area of Westweld. Now, what I did for the Necrom chapter is I took every DLC that has come out since Morrowind, including the base game storylines, and I thought, how could they adapt a DLC that was very popular and turn that into a new chapter? And I landed on the Dragon Guard DLC, which I thought was a perfect way for them to utilize both the Morrowind-esque area, include the Hermaeus Mora plot lines and their, overarching, Daedric story invasion, and it also gave them the perfect basis for a new class for them to build on. And that's how I was able to land on the Telvanni Peninsula, being the next chapter update back when we were speculating about that one. The Gold Road was a bit different because we didn't really know a whole lot of plot elements. There was a few DLCs that I was considering, such as the Knights of the Nine DLC. I thought maybe that could see, but for those of you who remember, in the Vegas event back in 2023, I asked the developers, I said, could you give me a clue, maybe a color scheme? Just a color scheme. I won't be able to get a whole DLC update with a color scheme. And they said autumn as the color scheme. And if you look at this map right now, you can cut out 3/4 of it because it ain't autumn themed. So we knew Cyrodiil themed, and we knew that Skingrad was already polygoned into the game as an out-of-bounds area. And more importantly, there were also actual people who hinted that they were on their way to Skingrad. They had business to do in the Skingrad area, and it was the perfect lead-in to the Skingrad zone. So sometimes you can get it based on potential DLCs, potential game elements, like Blackwood has very close story elements to things such as the Oblivion Crisis. If you think of places like Greymore, it reminds me of the Dawnguard DLC inside of Skyrim, and you can see how they utilize popular elements from their RPG games and then port them over to their actual Elder Scrolls Online MMO. And you may be thinking to yourself, Jake, if you got a clue from the Vegas event, did you get one from the Amsterdam event? And the answer is actually yes, I did. And the clue was that the zone is lush. So I asked for a color clue. They thought that that might be a little bit too specific and give it away, because let's be realistic, autumn was a pretty good giveaway. So the answer was lush. Now, I think that lush is still a great answer because it gives us a good region as to where we could potentially go. and it gives us a great basis to now take the next steps as to deduce what are the in-game clues that we can look for as the potential next zone. And let's start by looking at the letter that was sent to influencers last year, because it's a great way to get an idea as to how you can utilize in-game NPCs to find clues for next year. So basically, to sum up what this letter says, and obviously it's on screen if you want to read it, it goes over a bunch of information. It talks about specific areas such as the coast, a puzzle, it comes with a fragment piece, but here's what's really interesting, and this is what I want to highlight, is it's signed by Baragon. But here's the interesting thing about that. You can find him and you can talk to him, and he's had this dialogue since the end of the Blackwood chapter. And what he says seems very mundane. He basically just says, watch out for my sister. And then ironically, you can go and talk to his sister and see what's next for his sister. And you can see here a clue, because she says, I plan to catch up with my cousins before they return to Valenwood. So this was basically the bridge from what we knew would be the Skingrad area, but also include that portions of that Valenwood area. But this has been here since Blackwood has released. And this started what I call the reading montage. Myself and Jacob 2.0 started to read every single major storyline character and see if they had any pieces of dialogue after the main DLC story ended that would hint to future areas. We read through so many different people's dialogue that we were convinced that we had narrowed it down to 2 specific areas. And from there, we then went back to the map and said, okay, people are pointing to Skyrim. It's important to note, though, that Skyrim we've already been to in the Greymoor expansion and the Reach expansion, and the other area that was hinted at was Blackmarsh, which, to be fair as well, we have been through already with the Murkmire expansion and with the Blackwood area. So it begs the question, which of these is more likely? And then I think we have to analyze a couple of clues that we had received. Which one of these areas is lush? Well, I would argue that the Whiterun area in southern Skyrim is not very lush. But more importantly, as to why I think Skyrim is not the 2025 expansion, is that 2026 is the 15-year anniversary of Skyrim, and I think that is going to be when we go there. That's obviously pure speculation, but I want to break down what in-game dialogue has led me to Blackmarsh specifically. And that is that of Razumdar, who after the High Isle storyline is complete, will tell you if you ask him what he thinks is coming next, believes that an operation is coming up somewhere in Blackmarsh. It's been some time since this one got to make friends with an Argonian. Scales and fur make such a lovely compliment, don't you think? But what's interesting is if you ask him that question multiple times, he will actually give you different answers. For example, if you ask him again, he says to tell you the truth, he's not sure. And then if you try to continue to ask him, he will give you different answers. For right now, you can see he's telling you that we will be going to Blackmarsh versus he's not sure. And other times, he will tell you that if he has the information, then he'll have to kill you. So this is very interesting. I've never known ZeniMax to have dialogue that you have to ask it multiple times for them to release it. So this is the 3rd time that we've asked him, and he says he could tell you, but then he'd have to kill you. I think this is definitely a major clue on where we're going, because this is not only hidden dialogue, it's dialogue that you have to ask multiple times to get potentially the response that even hints to where we would be going. And now here is the tricky part of the video, because can we predict what the storyline elements might be? And I think the answer is actually we can potentially at least give an educated guess, or as Deadpool would say, an educated wish. So I actually believe that because Razumdar was involved in the plot lines that occurred in High Isle, that we potentially will see an expansion of the Three Banners War storyline, but in a different way. I think that they are actually going to tie in something called the Crimson Plague. Now, if you've been playing the recent DLC dungeons, you'll note that Peryite, who notoriously doesn't get any love from any of the previous Elder Scrolls games, has actually been making quite a bit of an appearance. And I think that the Crimson Plague is the perfect tie-in to get us to go to Blackmarsh. For those of you who don't know what the Crimson Plague is, also known as the Canifan flu, which, granted, I know I'm not saying correctly, was one of the deadliest diseases, and it lasted from the Second Era 560 to the Second Era 603. So this is actively going on right now. And it actually first began in Stormhold, and it was also killing all non-infected Argonians inside of Blackmarsh. There was quite a few very notable things that happened because of this plague, and it was one of the direct main causes of the Three Banners War, because it led to the basically desolation of High King Emmerich's family, leading him to take the throne. It also was a crisis in Elsewhere, causing the Khajiit to join the Aldari Dominion. And it was interestingly that it never really seemed to affect the Ebonheart Pact. So I could see a potential story beat where you investigate the cause of this plague. Maybe a notable alliance leader, because remember, we don't know what happens to them, gets infected. We have to go find the cure. We know that it comes from Blackmarsh. We have to go delve into that area. This could potentially be a really good story beat. They could hint that it was created by the Argonians, the histories, it was created by Harryite. It could do so many different things with this disease that I think it would be a great story beat for them to go into. There are some other things that potentially they may look at, such as potentially linking this to the Shivering Isles, just because of how popular of an expansion the Shivering Isles was, or potentially a continuation to the Oblivion Crisis, because Maroon's Dagon has tried repeatedly to invade Blackmarsh with his little cute Oblivion portals. However, the Blackmarsh absolutely curb stomps him, and as we know, the storyline from Blackwood did not officially end. It was a fourth ambition, still needs to be secured, so there's still a whole lot of plot elements that could be used with that. I think that this is definitely the least likely story beat, because I think that from the Oblivion Crisis perspective, we're probably done with that storyline, but overall, I think it could definitely still tie in, just because it was an important story beat inside of Blackmarsh. And Blackmarsh is a very hard place to predict, because normally we could look at previous year's expansion. So let's say we were hypothesizing about Greymoor, we thought we were going to Skyrim. We could look at the Dawnguard DLC as a potential basis, because it was a popular DLC that included that region. Here we're running into a bit of a sticky wicket, because the only time you've ever been inside of Blackmarsh has been briefly inside of Elder Scrolls Arena, Stormhold, and then obviously there's different portions you go to inside the Elder Scrolls Online. So it's very difficult to predict what they will do storyline-wise, but hopefully Q4 gives us a bit of a clue as to where we're going, and obviously too, we'll have other clues that people find throughout the rest of the year. But everyone, let me know what you guys think. If I'm wrong, I will eat wasabi on stream, just to prove that I am confident in this prediction. If we do end up going to Skyrim a year before the 15th anniversary, I will deeply sigh to myself, but I would probably still be happy, even though it does not line up with the clues. It's still Skyrim. I still love Whiterun. I still think Winterhold is definitely on the cards in the future, especially with the new scribing system implemented in place. But I also do think it's a bit early to add Winterhold, because as you guys may know, ZeniMax is constantly testing things and then developing them for future years. So they're testing out the scribing system, and then potentially if they're going to do a massive expansion, such as in the Winterhold expansion, if that's going to be in 2 or 3 years, that would be the perfect time for them to do that. Collect all the data of what's been working from this year, pump it out into the next couple years. So we'll definitely see. I'll be happy either way, because, hey, it's always a cool zone that we go to. And for those of you who don't know why I started to play the Elder Scrolls Online, it's because when I finished Skyrim, I wanted to see all the other zones. And when I saw how many there were, I was absolutely elated, which is why I have the little helmet on my head, because I went and did all the quests. So that was the original Jakeclips lore. That's why I started to play the Elder Scrolls Online, so I'm excited to see what we come up with and where we will go. And as always, we're doing our 3 giveaway drawings. If you would like to enter, leave a comment in the comments below. Tell me either where you think we're going to go, where you wish we would go, or some other, combination of those questions. Then just make sure you're subscribed for the second entry, and you can get an additional entry by following on Twitch and Twitter. Both of those are linked below. And the third thing is look for a hidden word to be flashed upon the screen. The month is almost over. Find the hidden word, comment it, and you will win. Thank you guys so much again for watching, and I'll catch you later. Bye, guys.
You better remember to like and subscribe to Jakeclips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.